that me? Thanks for coming back to Anxiety Ave. Today I wanted to talk about sexual abuse and some of the long-term effects that it can have on people. I only want to go over 3 major things today because there's so much that goes into how sexual abuse affects people that you can't really go over it in depth in one video. So some of the things I wanted to go over pertaining to that was molestation versus rape, triggers that may occur during intimacy or times when you're supposed to be bonding or being affectionate with your partner. And I wanted to also talk about the flashback aspect of things, which is very similar to symptoms of PTSD. So the things that I mentioned are all things that I have dealt with either in the past or still do now. I can only talk based on my own personal experience, but I do know based on research and other experiences that I've heard that what I have experienced is not unusual for people with my past. So in my case, let's talk about the flashback part of things. It's really difficult because the flashbacks are not necessarily triggered by specific things. The triggers that I'll have sometimes is just like when I'm doing something or like watching TV or I hear a word, it'll make me have these images of scenes from the sexual abuse that I suffered playing back in my mind, and like I'll relive the feelings of like disgust that I was having at that time or fear, and it'll just like freak me out like it's happening all over again. But it's all in my head. Nothing's happening in real life. I just will feel like I'll just have all those feelings come back to me, and it can get really distressful. Sometimes I'll just burst out crying because it'll get so real that I'll feel like I'm back there at 13, 14 years old getting molested. I don't know right now like what people do to diminish that. If there is something that people do to help them with those kinds of triggers, then leave it in the comments if you know about it. I don't. I plan to do more research on these things, and if I find some good information, I will be glad to share it with you guys here. That's something that I deal with every single day. Like almost every day, I find myself having flashbacks of something that he said to me, did to me, or a memory will surface that I had suppressed. But I do want to clarify that the reason why I have these flashbacks more now is because I stopped trying really hard to suppress all of this stuff. Because when I was younger, I wasn't able to deal with it, and I didn't really know how to process a lot of this stuff. So I just masked it. I hid it for a long time. And I still talked about it with people here and there, but not in detail. And just a very general, you know, something bad happened to me. My mom's boyfriend molested me. Like, it was that was the whole summary. Now that I am at a place in my life where I feel like I want to work through my issues and have a normal life and be as normal as possible, despite some of the other issues that I already have that are like biological issues, I find that these memories get triggered very easily throughout my day. And it's just sad. Like sometimes I'll just be looking at my kids and like I'll see how free they are to just walk around in the house the way they want. Like my daughter, sometimes she just walks around in her underclothes. I'll watch that and feel like, oh my gosh, how lucky is she that she's safe enough to walk around in her own home in her underwear and not feel threatened, even though there are 2 men living here with her. Like, that's so refreshing to be able to see that. But then when I see it, it'll make me start to like cry and have these bad emotions come up, because I remember the opposite of that. I remember not feeling safe even with all of my clothes on, buttoned all the way up to here, not feeling safe in my own house because this person was, you know, targeting me. So it'll just be just the most random things, guys. I don't know if this is something that even can be, like, can go away on its own without, like, medication or something, but I have no idea. So this is just something I deal with, but I try not to dwell on the thoughts now. I used to get really upset, but now when the thoughts come, I just let them come, and then I remind myself it's not real. This isn't really happening. You're just reliving the past. We're in a better place right now. You're safe. I'll just like talk myself down and I'll get out of it without having a breakdown. Another issue that I wanted to discuss was triggers during times where you're supposed to be able to feel safe and intimate with your partner. I can't really speak for people who are just kind of like dating around. They don't have like a serious person who they're dating, because I went through a phase like that where I was just like, I didn't claim anyone to be my boyfriend, but I was having sex with like multiple people who I didn't have a commitment to. So during that span of my life, I feel like the things that I was doing with those guys, they didn't really trigger me to the extent that I'm talking about now, because they were my escape from these thoughts. But now that I'm not fighting it, I find that when I'm with my mate, sometimes he's trying to be affectionate with me and like touch me or hold me or rub me or something like that. For some reason, my mind will just wander based on like a certain body part that he touches, or like the way that he touches me or something like that. So I don't even think it is him just at all, the fact that he's touching me at all. I will start to have flashbacks of this molester trying to touch me. This really bothers me a lot because I don't want to feel like that with the person who I'm dating, who I'm actually attracted to, who I actually do like, who I do have sexual positive feelings towards. I don't want to have those kinds of negative feelings that have nothing to do with him when we're in an intimate setting. And like, I'll try to block the thoughts out, but the more I try to block it out, the louder they'll become, the bigger they'll become. And sometimes I'll feel like bursting out crying, but we're like supposed to be having an intimate moment. So it's so inappropriate, because if I just started crying, that would totally break the mood. So I have to like make it go down, make it go down. I think the reason why I feel that type of trigger now, even though I've been with the same person for like 10 years, is because I'm not suppressing the feelings anymore. I'm not distracting myself on purpose with other thoughts. So they start to resurface because I'm trying to actively work them out. And my subconscious knows I'm trying to create a reality for myself where these feelings don't make me miserable and depressed. So in order to do that, I have to release them. So it comes out now when I'm in sexual situations. It affects my mood, and then it affects my ability to stay engaged in the activity, because my mind will start to drift. Like, I'll forget that I'm here in this situation with this person and not some other situation that's in my mind. So again, I have to remind myself it's not real. This is not real. What you're feeling isn't real. You're having like a panic attack. Calm down, Gypsy. It's gonna be okay. And I have to like talk to myself in my head. But the problem I'll have with this is that like my partner can sense that I'm uncomfortable, and he can see that I'm not reacting the way I normally would. So it'll make him feel discouraged from continuing with what we're doing, because he thinks that he's like hurting me or making me uncomfortable, which I appreciate, but at the same time, it makes me feel bad because I don't really feel like that. I don't feel like, oh, let's stop, or I don't want to. I just can't help the triggering thoughts from popping up when they do. So I gotta figure out a way to work that out. Again, I don't know. I don't know what the solution is, and this is why I'm here, because I want to have these discussions with you guys, because some of you may know more than I do about some of this stuff, or maybe have more experience with people who have dealt with things like this that I don't. So drop it in the comments if you can think of exercises that people can do, some things they can try out to like ease the anxiety for flashbacks and triggers like that. It's really annoying and it's really bothersome. Sometimes those feelings, what happens, they'll get compounded and they'll just be like in my head, like just going and going and going, that the act of sex or any sexual behavior will suddenly become disgusting to me, like appalling, disgusting, just nasty. Like the whole thought of it will feel like the idea of eating like a poop sandwich. Like that's how I'll feel about it. But I know as I'm having those feelings that that's not really how I feel. Like I know that it's the triggered thoughts that's making me feel that way, because I feel like anything sexual is disgusting when it pertains to my molester, but I'll still have those types of feelings come up, which will interfere with my ability to concentrate when I'm dealing with a person who I actually want to be in a sexual encounter with. So that's hard. I mean, people who have gone through more traumatic sexual abuse situations than I have, I can't even imagine how they like get through their day if they don't have like therapy or some kind of help professionally. But this is a reality, and like I feel like this is an important thing for people who are dating people that have been molested or raped or something, especially if they were young in age when it happened. It's something you should be aware of, because even if that person's not comfortable telling you that they're going through that or that it's happening at all. Like I didn't tell my husband for a while, like a long time. It took me so long to finally just blurt it out loud one day, and I was like crying, like because I thought he was gonna be upset with me. I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, but I just have these feelings and thoughts, and it's not you. Like, I just get triggered when you, like, do or say certain things to me. It's not anything specific, but I just get triggered, and don't know how to make it stop. So like, I'm just going through this. So when you see me not really like engaged, that's probably why, because my mind is just somewhere else. But you know, it's not you. It took me a while, and I'm a very open person. So sometimes people are not comfortable enough telling other people how they're feeling, and that's why they don't. If you're kind of aware and can be sensitive to that, then it would probably make things a lot easier for you in your relationship with that person. The last thing I wanted to get to was talking about molestation versus rape, and is one worse than the other? In my situation, I was molested by Noor, who was my mother's ex-boyfriend, but he did not rape me that I know of. Like, I don't have a conscious memory of him raping me. So that was my situation with him, but I have been raped by other people before in my life after that. So I know the difference between a rape and like molesting, right? Even though I've been raped later on in my life, I want to say I was an adult when it happened, but for some reason the rape incidents they haven't traumatized me as badly as the molestation incidents did. It's odd because it's like, well, wouldn't you say that one is more of a violation than the other? But no, not necessarily. When I had gotten raped as an adult, they were not in situations where I was constantly around the person, except for one was a boyfriend, but I mean, I didn't live with him at the time. So like, people that raped me, it was like a one-time incident, and the circumstances were very it's like circumstances you can learn from, like a date rape, for example. If you know what happened that led up to that incident, you know you can kind of be more cautious the next time you're in a similar situation to know what to look for, so you don't go through that again. And that's how I felt about those rape incidents when I was an adult. Like, I learned a lesson from those situations where I could prevent it from happening in the future. I guess the feeling of knowing that I could prevent it in some way made me feel more in control of the situations. So they didn't have a lasting bad effect on me compared to the molestation from my childhood, which I was very trapped in the situation, and I didn't feel there was anything I could do to prevent or control the situation or protect myself at all. I had more than just one incident with this person. I was living with them, and I had to deal with them, and they were an authority figure over me. So the psychological ramifications, I feel like, were more deeply rooted, because it wasn't just about the sexual aspect of the violation. It was so many other controlling factors. For some reason now, after all that stuff is over and done with, when I do have any kind of like flashbacks or triggers, it always takes me back to Noor instead of the actual people who did end up raping me when I was older. I know that sounds really weird, right? But this is the truth for me. So I can't say that rape is worse than molestation or the other way around. I think it really depends on the extent to which the person was violated, how strong that person is at the time when they get violated. Like, for instance, when I was an adult, because I already went through what I went through with Noor, everything I experienced that were sexual violations, I could deal with with more confidence and with more insight. But when I was younger, I had no idea anything about molesting, rape. I didn't know anything about like sexual abuse. So when I was going through that at that time, I had no recourses. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. So it had a lasting effect of fear on me. Yeah, so I think that that's interesting that there is somewhat of a difference between how those incidents have affected me over the years, and wow, I don't have a reason to feel unsafe. Just those things still come back, and that's why PTSD is so serious, because even though the person is no longer in this state of constant stress, the slightest thing can bring back all the feelings as if it never had went away, and they could be put right back into that situation when they are actually safe. That's hard. I don't know how people get through that. I don't know. But for me, part of it is talking about it, getting it out in the open, getting it off my chest, hearing myself in my own voice outside my head, telling myself It's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. Someone else violated you. It's their shame, not yours. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay. It doesn't define you. I have to remind myself of that all the time. But things are getting better, and even though the feelings are ugly and sometimes scary, I would rather be going through this now and working it out of my system than keep bottling it up and then maybe just being a miserable, lonely person when I die. I don't want to end up that way. So I'm glad that I've gotten to the point in my life where I'm able to really evaluate things and make myself work these things out. And I pray that somebody watching this will be able to find some encouragement to do the same thing, because I'm 35 now, and I wish I would have had this level of insight when I had first met my husband, because I feel like our relationship would have just been so much different if I didn't have so many hang-ups coming into it. And I probably would have preferred to push back our relationship until after I had worked these things out. But that's easier said than done now when I'm like in hindsight talking about it. But at the same time, a lot of my hang-ups my husband helped me to work out. And that's why I'm at where I am today. So I don't know, maybe it was for the best. Everything works out for a reason, right? That's my opinion. If you guys have any questions or if you have any thoughts on what I said, I would love to hear what your feelings are on the subject. Go ahead and drop that in the comments. I created a new Instagram account just for this channel. So if you guys want to go ahead and go follow me there at Gypsy Vibe, then all of the content on that Instagram will be pertaining to what's going on here on this channel. And also, I'm more active on Instagram as far as like actually conversing with people. So if you guys want to send me comments or DM messages over there, then that will be a lot better than, you know, trying to get me to engage here on YouTube. I don't really like respond to people on YouTube as much because I have my other channel too. And there's a lot of messages to get through, but I read all of the comments. All right, so that's it for today. My name is Gypsy. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll see you next time on Anxiety App.